You have to be able to speak whatever that is.
I feel like I like starting off with I can't even say it right. Now it's really a W. I am stroking out. WTF news. Okay, there we go. Got it. All right. Hey nerds, welcome to our next episode of Nerd Newz. We are your hosts, Russell and Amber. So, over the last week, there has been news that the first human to receive a brain implant, what do you think he used it for? Actually, I don't answer that.
I can tell you what he used it for. He used it to play, was it Civilization or something?
Yeah, it was like Civilization 6. Did you hear about this?
Oh, I know everything.
Yeah.
All the tech stuff, that's what I do. I just follow that stuff.
Yeah. It is fascinating to me. Okay. I don't know if you're a Grey's Anatomy fan. Do you watch that show at all?
I haven't seen it for like a decade and a half or something, and I didn't really watch it anyway, but I feel
like it's gone on too long. It needs to stop now, but
it was a good show.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
So they had like a season or two where they were putting like those brain implants into folks who were getting prosthetic limbs so that they can use their brain to control the prosthetic limbs, right?
Wow,
and this is the closest thing I've seen to it. Now, I don't follow tech stuff like you do, maybe, so maybe this is not new, but I've never heard of anybody getting a brain implant where they can use it to control stuff, like in real life.
Right. Well, they've been doing it with monkeys for about 15 years now.
Okay.
So they've had monkeys playing games using their minds to control the cursors on computer screens and what have you.
Yeah.
And it's not the first implant that's been done either, because they had one that provided like really crappy sight to some blind person at one point.
Really?
Yep. But it was like 100 pixels or something stupid. It was nothing. And the ones that Elon Musk is making now is a whole new level of stuff. And these ones are invasive, so they have to drill them. The first ones that they built had a piece on the outside and a piece on the inside of the skull, and they were wired into the brain.
Wow.
Right, with all these tendrils going into your brain. And then there's the whole other approach to this is that you can actually just read the brain waves from outside your skull. And that also works it's probably not as precise, I suspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the general gist of it. So what Elon Musk is doing now is he's building a new sight-based thing. He's building basically robot eyes so that the blind can see, wow, he's like the Messiah.
Right?
Wow, he's going to take us to Mars.
This is is probably opening up a can of worms about Elon Musk, but I just feel like is it the money? Is that why he's making so many advancements? Because he has money to just throw at things? Or is it because it's not government what's the word I'm thinking of? Controlled, restricted, any of that. It just feels like he makes this and then he makes this and now he's got this and he's making this.
The guy's like he was the world's richest man until about 2 weeks ago, when was it Jeff Bezos or somebody else took over again, and sort of they're playing catch up.
Yeah,
with
they're
each
just
other the whole time.
Yeah, leapfrogging each other.
Yeah, I mean, in the last couple of weeks, he has let out so many new things, and a lot of this has got to do with all the AI stuff that's going on.
Right.
They're building mega amounts of factories to build robots. The robots are coming, man, and they're mad. They're mad real. I
am telling you.
Oh my God. I mean, I've seen some mind-blowing videos of what robots are doing at the moment, where you can talk to them. I mean, I've been using an AI called Hume AI, which you can look up if you want, and it's the world's first emotionally intelligent robot or chatbot, and it listens to your voice and it responds to you in conversational tones. It interrupts you, you can interrupt it. It's wow. And if you check it out, it'll blow your mind, because it reads all your emotions while you're doing it, and it displays them on the screen, all your different intonations, your voice timbre, all of that stuff. There's a video version where you can turn your camera on and it can read your facial expressions and all your micro expressions, and it tells you what they are while you're doing it, and it records them. And you can upload videos of, say, politicians or job interviews and get it to analyze the emotional content of the conversation. It's madness, and personally a little bit concerning, because I feel it's a little bit invasive.
Okay. I did not not expect this conversation to go this way, but let's dig into this because, okay, I'm going to sidebar for a second. You know, all those services where you can like, you know, spit into a tube and then you send it off and they can tell you all about your ancestry and stuff, right? And there's a lot of people who have warned me, and I don't know if they're conspiracy theorists, but they're like, don't do that. You're giving your DNA to the government, or like, you know, it'll now be in a database where they can look you up and use your DNA for whatever. I don't know.
Right. They'll make clones of you or something. I don't know.
Or just the fact that they have all this, it's online where someone could steal it or use it somehow. Who knows, like what that could be used for in the future, right?
I have bigger concerns, but yep.
Right. And this kind of feels a little bit like that to me, where if we're heading into AI and face recognition and things, you're giving your face to the internet, to the interwebs, to the world, who knows, to AI. How do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, I've got mixed feelings. I think some of the advances are like, well, for a start, it's happening and we're stuck with it. It's not, we can't change it. We have to adapt to it.
Yeah.
But we do have to educate ourselves so that we're aware of what the issues are so that we can avoid the pitfalls, right? Yeah. And we have to teach other people those things too, because I feel like maybe we are thinking about these things more than the average person who goes to work every day and does stuff in the world. And I mean, I'm not talking about myself here. Obviously, I work at home. So, you know, and I have a lot of spare time to spend browsing the internet and keeping up with this shit. But yeah, I feel we have a responsibility to some degree to educate each other.
Yeah.
Elon, what else is he up to? So there's the robots, there's the Mars mission, there's the trucks, there's the cars, there's the implants. There's now they're building. They're taking. Have you heard about Optimus?
I have not.
Optimus is his robot, right? This is a humanoid robot that you can talk to because it basically has Chat GPT embedded in its brain.
Okay. And it's like a walking, talking robot?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I like that response.
It's mind-blowing. And there's another one called Figure, which is out from OpenAI, who is partly funded by Microsoft. Figure's very similar, but they have like different walking speeds. They look a little bit different. They have different color schemes. But Figure is mind-blowing too, because like there was a demo where this guy's talking to the robot and it's sitting on the other side of a counter in a kitchen. And he's like, okay, Figure, can you sort out this garbage? And while you explain to me why you gave me the apple. And it's like, well, I gave you the apple because you asked for something to eat and it was the only food item on the table. So that's why I gave you that. And it was, oh, wow.
Yeah.
They got super sensitive fingers and dexterous digits that can pick up an egg.
I've seen videos like that, you know, robots that are doing backflips and things like that. I didn't know.
The Boston Dynamics ones have been doing backflips. Those ones are powered by, they have hydraulic systems. So they're really, really strong and they can do those fucking acrobatics and backflips.
Right.
The one from OpenAI is electric and it also can do backflips with like just a small amount,
a little bit of that power. Yeah.
It's
wow.
About half the price of a car is what you pay one of these things.
Wow.
Right? They're talking about producing billions of them. This is going to destroy the labor market.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah, cheap labor, free labor. Well, I guess not free because you're paying for the technology. But
well, you buy it. Okay, now you've got an asset and it does it forever. You don't have to pay it every week. You know, you're not paying a loan. I mean, I'm sure there will be people that have to get loans to buy robots, but yeah, it's madness. And then the AI side of it is taking over all the white collar jobs, you know, and we've already got like, have you heard of Devon, the developer AI, which is based on ChatGPT, but they've built these AI agents that communicate with each other. Each one has a different task. One of them is a programmer, one is the tester, the other one is the designer, and they all work together, sort of challenging each other and giving each other tasks. They can search the web, and this is the closest thing we have to AGI now. It's getting very close to general intelligence.
Wow.
So they've run out of power. That's the next problem. So the AI systems that they've built, like the ChatGPT servers and what have you, which have thousands of computer servers, of course, and they're based mostly on, I think they're using NVIDIA GPUs at the moment, and now they're building whole new processing units and cards just for AI, right? Because they've been using graphics processors, but now they're building AI processors built specifically for it, and it's going to speed up the whole thing like 1,000 1,000 times. It's using so much power. They asked, somebody said, why didn't you bring something online? And they were like, oh, we tried to, but we would have brought down the power grid.
Wow.
So they're building their own nuclear factory now, nuclear power station.
Oh, that's so scary.
To power their own shit, right?
T1000s are coming for you.
It's mental.
Or did it start out with T800 or was it T1000?
The T1000 was the gooey one. That was the liquid metal.
Yeah. That's right. It was T800s, I think. Anyway, okay. So there were a couple of quotes from this, going back to the first human to receive brain implant,
right,
and used it to stay up all night playing a game. I just think that's so fantastic.
That's hilarious.
Some of these and it wasn't just one individual, right? This has happened to they've been working with several individuals, and some of the quotes that they said were kind of fascinating. Nolan, our boss, said it was like using the force on the cursor, because he was trying to get a cursor to move, like you said, with monkeys. And I could get it to move wherever I wanted, just stare somewhere at the screen and it would move where I wanted it to. It was such a wild experience. So already I can see people wanting this just for the what is it that we talk about when we play D&D and you get to live out your fantasy, right? Kind of that thing. People are going to pay for this just so that they can feel like they're using the force.
Power fantasy on the one hand.
Power fantasies.
You do have to have this skull cut open to have the insert stuck into your brain. So there's some.
I think people would do it. I think people would do it.
I would do it.
Yeah.
But again, back to the robots. They've built a robot that does the installation.
Oh my God.
You don't have, there's no surgeon that actually does this process. It's a robot that does it.
Wow.
It's super precise. It's mind blowing.
That is mind blowing. Okay. Yeah. So the other quote, I think this was also Nolan Darbaugh. He said, now I can literally just lie in bed and play to my heart's content. Honestly, the biggest restriction at this point was having to wait for the implant charge once I had used all of it.
Right.
Now, I know you've watched Dragon Ball Z. I don't know how big of an anime fan you are, but have you seen Sword Art Online?
No, I've heard of it.
Right. And there's other animes that are similar to this storyline where basically they have some kind of an implant or some kind of a video game that's on their head that they get sucked into, and now Sword Art Online was specifically, though, like real world. They had an attachment on their head and their bodies were lying in waste as their minds were stuck in this video game. They had a hospital full of these people, this population of people that were stuck in the game so that they could keep their bodies hydrated and, alive. Yep. This is where I see this going.
Well, I mean, there's also Black Mirror episodes like this as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch Black Mirror, but that's another example. Yeah. Ghost in the Shell is getting more and more kind of realistic. I mean, it was always quite realistic, but we haven't quite got to mind uploading, and I'm not ever sure that will actually be proper possible, but certainly.
What do you mean, mind, like uploading your mind to a robot's body?
Or just to a server. Maybe just to the internet, to the cloud, to a hive. Mm-hmm. I've written a lot of science fiction. In my time, I've spent something like 15 years on one science fiction world.
Wow.
Researching that. So that's very much up my alley in terms of interests.
Yeah, but that must be why you keep up on
I'm obsessed with AI right now. Absolutely obsessed. It's funny because I mean this it's changing everything. It's going to destroy corporate capitalism in some ways because there's so many aspects of it. With the labor market gone, people won't be able to survive without getting paid. So the government will be obligated to do something about that. So maybe they will finally start taxing corporations what they're worth.
Right.
Because those corporations are not going to be paying for labor anymore. But they're still going to be making billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right. Microsoft.
But how can they make billions of dollars if tons of people are out of work because of these robots?
Well, because they sell shit to other companies too.
That's true.
So there's all these corporations trading up here while we're all down here starving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So maybe they'll let us sell them our DNA or something for a robot that can look after us when we're old. I don't know. But
the timing of this is so uncanny because I did not plan this at all. And I don't know if you've seen, but on my channel, I have a short story that I wrote. It was published a couple of years ago. And only just recently did I realize the ownership of that story is now back to me. I can do whatever I want with it. And I started this whole
nice.
other project. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but just for anybody who's interested, go to my channel. A voice actor from Dungeon Studios has kindly offered to basically voice and do a narrative reading of my story, which I put on my channel. And the plot of that story feels very much like this, like AI is taking over the world. And so when I saw this story, I was like, no way is this happening right now.
Right.
So,
I mean, have you heard, like, I'm assuming you're aware of the differences between AI, AGI, and then ASI.
No, actually, you used AGI earlier, and I was curious. I was pretending like I knew, but what is it?
Okay, so AI, obviously artificial intelligence, is like ChatGPT, stuff like that. Then you get AGI, artificial general intelligence, where it can basically do anything that a person can do. It can think like it has an internal dialogue. They're building these systems right now where the AI system, you're sort of linking, you're putting together multiple AIs, and they're all sort of dealing with each other as multiple agents. If you think of them as different lobes of the brain.
Okay.
Right. And then one of them is basically taking the outputs and going through the outputs and then having its own dialogue about that. So at some point, there's a sort of observer going on within its cortex, however you want to describe that. And so you're just getting massive amounts. Well, they need massive amounts of compute power to do this. And that's why they, was it Microsoft? I think they're just putting $100 billion down to build new server farms. And currently this stuff's all running on NVIDIA chips, which they're running out of because the only people that can make the components is Taiwan, right? And then there's the whole problem with Taiwan and China going.
Yeah.
So it's getting very complicated. And so more and more people are like, well, we're going to build our own freaking chips. And so this new dude, I can't remember his name, turned up on the scene a couple of weeks ago with a whole new set of server chips, these massive, massive computer motherboards and blah, 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 blah. But we're talking about super industrial level stuff, not like my computer over here, where like the computers are as tall as the room that you're in. You know, we're getting back to that kind of mainframe. Thing.
But war games.
It's huge. That's mad.
Wow. So wait, okay. So what's the difference between AI and AGI? Because is AI, it's better than general knowledge? Like it's,
no. The artificial general intelligence is the better one.
Oh, okay.
And that's what everyone's aiming to produce in the next between the next 6 months and the next 6 years. I think, and nobody knows when it will happen.
Right.
So there's all these estimates, and then certain people are saying, "Oh, we're going to need more computers to make it happen, and we're going to need more chips to make it happen." Sam Altman from OpenAI, ChatGPT, he's basically asked for $7 billion for developing his own chips so that OpenAI can build their own hardware, so they don't have to rely on Taiwan or anybody else. It's mad, and everybody's pouring money into this at an unprecedented amount of money. We've never seen this amount of money get put into something in the history of the world in such a short space of time.
Right.
So the AGI, when we get that, is going to probably build the ASI, which is the artificial superintelligence.
I have to ask, and I know that this is probably money driven, because I mean, that's money. My brain goes to, that's money that could be thrown at cancer research or something like that. But the priority for everyone is we got to get AI. And then my brain is like, are they thinking, well, if we get AI up and running, they can cure cancer?
That's
I don't know.
I think that's pretty much it. I mean, the whole AI thing is, I mean, as I said, it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're already using it for things like cancer research and genome research and protein folding. They've been doing that for a few years now. Oh my God, they're using AI to decode animal communications.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you
can talk to your dog.
You can talk to your dog. Exactly. You've got to check out this Hume thing. I don't know if it's hilarious. It's kind of scary, actually. But
I think I've seen you post on your personal account about it a little bit, right? You asked it some questions. Yeah. We'll have to we might have to do that on one of the shows.
I was thinking actually of doing something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's all happening. So this AI, AGI, that's the general intelligence. That's when you basically got a person, and they're thinking that some people think that you have to put it in a body in order for it to have proper intelligence, because it has to be able to perceive the reality that it's in, and it can't sort of be an abstract thing.
Right.
Not everyone believes that. I don't personally agree with that. I think there's different types of intelligence, and we don't all have to have the same type of intelligence.
Right.
And then the ASI is the fucking supercomputer, supermind, the god robot thing. That's when.
So that's like the massive computer that gave you the answer 42. That kind of mega computer.
Right. And I think the thing is, the truth is that it'll be ubiquitous, and it will be embedded in everything, and it will be sort of distributed across the network.
Yeah.
Anyway, and going back to Elon and his brain chips, so he's got brain chips and he's building robots. So of course the thing that he did was he goes, fuck it, I can take the arm off the robot and turn it into a prosthesis, stick it on somebody's stump and give them a brain chip to control it.
Right. There's Grey's Anatomy right there. Yep.
Right. So there's that's all the limbs, right? Basically. Voice synthesizers, mental stuff.
Oh gosh. And see, now my brain goes, well, now this is all going to be for the military, and we're going to have robot soldiers, or not robot soldiers, but amplified humans as
all
soldiers.
Of the above.
All of it.
All of the above. I mean, if you think about like the Tesla car, right? I mean, they're trying to get it to be auto driving, basically, and they're having some trouble with that, but it's going to get there. They're getting there as it is. It's basically, if you think of it rather than as a car, it's a robot with wheels.
Okay, sidebar on this. Anytime you log on online somewhere and it asks you, click the images with traffic lights, click the images with bridges. I always thought, oh, this is just them trying to figure out if I'm human, because that's what they say they're doing. To my knowledge, they never told me we're using this information so that we can teach these auto cars how to recognize what's a bridge and what's a light and what's
doing that simultaneously. That
felt a little invasive, just that little bit. It's like, why didn't you tell me you're using this to train cars?
Right. So here's another thing, and this is like the AI art situation, because of course we've got a lot of people really upset about the AI art,
especially in our space.
Especially in our space. You don't get it so much in the corporate space, because of course they're like, yes, free cheap art, basically. But if you are really concerned about it, Adobe, they've got a thing, I think it's called Firefly. They have paid all their artists and they've built their own image generators, and they are completely 100% copyright non-infringing. So if you're concerned about copyright and AI art, and you want to make AI art, but you don't want to piss anybody off, well, Adobe is the answer to that. I don't know whether it's free or if it's cheap, or whether they're going to charge you like a wounded bull, which they probably will, but it's Adobe. Still, it's an option. So that's good to know.
That's good to know. I had no idea that there was an option out there like that. All right.
There's new AI art music generators. You get ChatGPT or Claude to write you some lyrics. You throw it into this AI music generator. You tell it what genre. You just like speed it up, slow it down, tell it what to do, and it makes you a freaking album. Amazing.
It's crazy what AI can. I didn't know that either. I'm going to go to you next time I have any questions on this stuff.
This is what all I'm doing, apart from running games, is currently just studying AI shit.
Wow.
If I had a lot of money right now, I would invest it in NVIDIA. That's what I would do.
That's smart. That was the first piece of WTF news. The second piece, which is not necessarily new news, but I had seen it and I had forgotten to report on it before. And I think it's so interesting, is that NASA has launched its first official tabletop role-playing campaign that you can download for free. I'm actually very curious about the origin of this, because I'm wondering if like the folks up in the ISIS station are like, we need something to do. But then how do you roll dice in no gravity? I don't know.
Well, you have to adapt it into hand signals or something and play rock, paper, scissors.
Right. They wrote this adventure. It's designed for 4 to 7 people, level 7 to 10, and it's apparently adaptable for your preferred tabletop role-playing game. But I believe they actually wrote it with 5e in mind, I think, as most do. So the adventure invites you to take on a classic villain while also using and learning science skills, because you got to throw that in, STEM, right? As you overcome challenges and embark on an exciting quest to unlock more knowledge about our universe. They have this really cool video. I'll link into the thing so that you can watch their little promo video. It's super cute. With that link, you can download the adventure. It says, this is what results when ambitious game creators take the foundational structure of D&D and overlay it with an engaging narrative featuring the disappearance of the Hubble Space Telescope. So they had to throw that in.
What?
And a black hole affected exoplanet that is home to to a whole, I can speak English, that is home to a technology stealing dragon. Because you got to throw the dragon in there too.
Okay, so Hubble and a dragon.
Hubble and a dragon and an exoplanet and a black hole. I love this idea. I think, and I'm a big space nerd. I love stargazing. I love things to do with space. I always thought when I was young, one of the things I would be is some kind of scientist, astronomer, or whatever, you know. So
when I was 7, I wrote to NASA and they wrote me back from New Zealand. They wrote me back with a package full of pamphlets and books and all these amazing color photographs of the space shuttle and rockets taking off.
Wow.
And I was like, I want to be an astronaut. And everyone's like, you're a New Zealander. You're never going to be an astronaut.
What? You dumped on my dreams.
Yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, that's fine. I just was nerding out and I didn't know you were also a space nerd.
That is fantastic.
All right, folks. I have some other really interesting news. If you watch Critical Role, then you probably already know that they have an audio drama under their umbrella called Midst. We've probably talked about it once or twice or mentioned it in passing on the game. Midst, it's like these 3 folks, they lend their voices, they're very good. And they kind of tell this story in this weird fashion where like somebody starts the story, the next person picks up where that left off, and then the next person picks up. Kind of like that, but it is, I'm sure it's all scripted. It's not like they're coming up with it on the fly, but it is very dramatic. It's very mysterious and dark, and it's amplified with like sound effects and minor like animation if you're going to watch it. It's really meant to be listened to. So trying to figure out how to tell this story. So Dungeon Studios I've been with now for over a year, but prior to me joining, they had been working on Fables from the Forgotten. This is how I came into Dungeon Studios. They were looking for writers. I am a writer. They said, we want writers to write stories that take any person in the world of Eneron, which is our world for D&D 5e, right? And create a character and then write about their life and how they died. Were they heroic? Were they evil? Anything interesting about that. And so that's how I started here with Dungeon Studios. I wrote a story and then moved up and on, and I am now doing all the things that you see here. They've been working on that for quite a while before they even knew or heard that Critical Role had taken on Midst. Now that Dungeon Studios has put their blood, sweat, and tears, and the voice actors are amazing into this project, we're now getting ready to release it. By the time this show airs next week, it will have already been out. It is coming out on April 4th. The very first episode, season 1, episode 1 of Fables from the Forgotten. Our age group, you probably remember watching Tales from the Crypt, right? And the Crypt Keeper, and he's kind of like funny and haha, but you know, he pops up and he kind of introduces the story, and then all of a sudden you see this story unfold, and maybe in between, like he pops up with some other like funny haha quip, and then the end of the story has some twist or aha moment, right? Take that, flip it, and make it fantasy D&D, okay? And maybe not quite as humorous. This is definitely way more serious, way more dramatic. I got to be a part of the screening of the first episode, and it gave me goosebumps. It was wild. It was very eerie, very chilling, very, very Lovecraftian, descending into madness. This first episode, I didn't even really give you guys the premise, aside from the fact that it's like Tales from the Crypt, which it is, but it's not.
So it has kind of bookends with sort of some sort of chorus type character. Like if you imagine the Greek chorus at the beginning of Greek plays, or even Shakespeare plays, you know, there's somebody introduces it who's like, once in fair Verona said blah blah blah, there was 2 people that did some silly shit and one of them ended up dead. I made that rhyme, and
you did
and
good.
Then they come back at the end, you know, and something like that, I'm assuming.
Right. So it is characters. There are 3 main characters outside of the hero or villain's tale, right? There's Aerith and Oregon. Now this is me being outside of the process, so I'm probably going to get yelled at by the voice actors, but I see them as like the god of good and the god of evil kind of thing, right? Imagine your D&D character dies and goes up to not heaven, a version of heaven, but you go up to like the Great Tavern in the Sky. We call it the crossover. You end up in the Great Tavern in the Sky, and you're greeted by these 2 tavern keepers. One's male, one's female, or at least I think that's their pronouns. And they invite you in to tell tell them your story as the adventurer. What is it in your life that has meaning, so that they can lay judgment on you, basically, and figure out what your fate will be now that you're dead. And then we also have Alabaster, which is kind of the keeper of stories. He's kind of more the narrator of the story. So he pops in a little bit here and there as well. There's also the voice actors were very secretive about this. In the thumbnail, I said, okay, who are these characters? Who are these people? And there's a picture of a cat. And I said, what's up with the cat? And they were all so secretive. They said, we can't tell you. Just tell people to watch it. It's a secret.
They just want you to label it for the AI.
Yeah, it's a secret demon cat is all I got. So, okay. And apparently it does have an important part of the plot. So hopefully that teases you guys. The very first story is Mind's Eye. Oh, it was so good. It was so, I've been playing D&D with these voice actors. I've been working with these voice actors, but I hadn't really ever heard like a finished production until this came out. And it just blew me away how good it was. I cannot wait for people to experience the show, because it is much different than an audio book, right? You listen to an audio book, and if you have a good narrator, you come along for the ride and you're like, yeah, this is great. Right. An audio drama is not the same as an audio book. And I think that's what an audio drama, I feel like this is a very new thing.
No?
Or it's becoming popular again. Yeah, right. War of the Worlds.
Early radio plays. It's a radio play.
Right. I feel like this is going to be a huge thing. I really hope it will be a huge thing. That's part of this news that I wanted to put out there, is to help promote them. Yes, it's promoting us too, but not really. I want to just applaud the voice actors. They are so good.
They keep asking me to come and do voice on it, and I keep getting bogged down and stuff.
I know, because you would be so good with all your voices and your accents.
I'd love to do it.
So this is going to be a bi-weekly audio drama. Great writing. Eventually, once we kind of have this process down, we're going to actually clean up the stories and actually publish them, so you can actually get the background story that goes with the audio drama. I said, what do you want me to tell everyone about Fables from the Forgotten? And verbatim, someone said, fun, if slightly psychotic cast of voice actors. And they are. If you come into our Discord, the voice actors are like the life of the party in there. So I want to make sure everyone, you go check out the first episode of Fables, which it will be out by the time this comes out. So I'll put the link up here in the blah blahs. The next episode will be released on April 18th.
They put a huge amount of work into it, which is, to be honest, part of the reason why I haven't been involved yet, because the amount of
it's a lot of work,
commitment that they require to be part of it is huge.
Season 1 is produced, so we are getting ready to put those out. We're actually working on season 2 now. We just had a recent call for voice actors, and I got to sit in on some of the auditions for season 2, because one of my stories I don't know if I should announce it, so maybe they'll yell at me, but I'm gonna announce it. You kind of
let the cat out of the bag now. It's kind of
they told me that my story would be the season opener for season 2.
Wow.
And I am just so excited and very proud. So I got to sit in on some of the auditions to hear some of the male voice actors. Also, one of my friends came in and tried out. It was just a really interesting process being a voice actor. I don't know how people do it. They asked me to read. Oh my gosh. So because there's a male part, we had a female part. And so they're having these voice actors read. And I was just there to observe. I am not a voice actor, never did claim to be. I am not talented in that. We've all talked about this. All my accents turned to Russian. I don't know why. And so, but I'm in here, I'm in the room, and they needed a female to read off of the male lines. And they were like, Amber, you can do it. And I'm like, yay.
Yay.
And then directly after my read, one of the other voice actors was already in the room, and instead of asking me to do it again, they went, let's have you read the female lines. And I was like, that's how good I was. They didn't need me anymore.
Aw, that's not nice.
Hey, you know what? Everybody's got their talents. Voice acting is not mine.
Congratulations to you and the crew for getting it all sorted and done at last. So we're looking forward to seeing this.
Thank you. I mean, I've had very little to do with that project, but other than, providing some DNA.
DNA?
Pretty much that's all I've done. Moving on.
Weirdo.
Oh gosh. Okay. Have you seen the movie Enemy Mine?
Yes. Great yeah.
Great movie. I loved that movie. And I will tell, to me, I feel like it's underrated. I felt like I grew up and nobody knew what that movie was. So I'm going to put a little video here, video clip. Bloop, bloop, bloop,
I mean,
bloop.
it's an old film. It's dated. No doubt it's dated, but the story is just one of the best sci-fi stories around.
It really is. And considering that we will be talking about Dragonborn coming up, not that this guy in the movie is Dragonborn, but somewhat relatable, I think, as an alien who kind of has like draconic features and
Don't tell them.
Oh, am I not telling them about the movie?
Spoilers.
Oh, spoilers. Well, we know it's about aliens, right? We should know it's about aliens.
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's somebody in the audience who's like, "Oh, enemy mine? What's that?" I'll just watch it.
This is
that's
true.
the way, because that's the way to do it. Don't find out anything.
Okay.
For me personally, if I love to go to the cinema, choose a random movie I've never even heard of, and then just go and sit down and watch it.
Really?
And it's either terrible, which 50-50, or because I have no expectations, it can be amazing.
There is something about going in with no expectations versus bloated expectations when someone's telling you that it's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember seeing Event Horizon, and I had no idea that this was a horror film. I thought it was a science fiction movie because all I saw was the poster, right? I saw the poster above the outside of the check thingy, the counter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sci-fi. Cool. Go in there. Oh my God.
Mind blown.
Yeah. Where we're going, we don't need eyes to see.
Yeah, it's
great.
Terrifying. It is one of the we're getting off track here, but yes, that is one of the most terrifying movies. Going back to Enemy Mine, Louis. Oh boy, this is bad. Louis Gosset Jr. Louis Gosset Jr.
Louis Gosset. Yeah.
I was gonna say, was it Louis or was it Louis? That's horrible. I should know. But he passed away, and it's sad.
Really?
He did.
When was this?
He died at the age of 87 on March 29th.
Good innings.
Yes. He was the first Black man to win a supporting actor
role,
Oscar. Yeah. Okay. So when I saw that, my first thought was Enemy Mine, because that was, of all the things that he's done a lot, right, but that is just one of my all-time favorite movies. Stand out. And so now I really need to watch this movie again. Some people, if you don't recognize him from Enemy Mine, might recognize him from, he lent his voice to Half-Life 2 episode 1, which is very confusing title.
Half-Life was a video game.
Half-Life is a video game.
Okay. So he was in that anyway. So that's cool.
He was in that. I feel like that's one of his other like well-known accolades. Yeah, he was also in Boardwalk Empire. Boardwalk Empire was a really good show. Extant Watchmen is a very good nerd show. I know that. The Reason, he was in The Color Purple.
Right. That's
they didn't say, is that the new one or the old one? Because there's a new one, right?
It has to be the old one.
It has to be. I feel like I remember him from that.
If he died recently and he was 89 or something, you said.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey was in The Color Purple, the original one. That was Steven Spielberg directed.
Yeah.
So that was years ago.
It's a little sad. And I feel like in honor of that, I wanted to call attention to Enemy Mine because to me, it's such a beloved movie.
I've got certain friends in my life that I've been trying to get to watch that film.
Yeah.
And they're like, one day we'll get around to it. And it's like, by the time they get around to it, either we'll be dead or it'll be so dated that no one will be like, it's like watching Krull. Have you seen Krull?
I have. I've actually, but see, when you grow up with certain things, you have a level of patience for the outdatedness.
Right. Exactly. Though to be fair, I went back to watch Krull and it was fucking terrible.
But Liam Neeson, though, that's a wild trip.
Right. But I mean, on the other side, I watched Neverending Story and the sequels, both of the sequels recently. That's right. They were watchable.
Yeah. The sequels are pretty bad. So Krull I'm glad it never did have a sequel. Let's just say that.
Well, they're remaking Highlander with the Witcher dude, with Geralt, fucking Henry Cavill.
Yes. What? They are?
Yeah, he's playing.
I didn't know that. This is nerd news to me.
You didn't know this? Oh my God, he's playing Connor McLeod in the new Highlander film.
So it's going to be a film. That's good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, my very first screenplay when I was 17 was called, and you got to remember this is like before Highlander 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 came out. This was my screenplay was called Highlander 3, The Apology, and the tagline: "There should have been only one."
But there was
instead
two.
like 2 and 3 and so on. Yeah, the hilarious thing is like the first movie is all this mystical stuff about the quickening and the gathering and the sword fighting, and there's all this sort of pseudo spiritual shit going on. And the second one is like, oh yeah, and also they're from the planet Zeist.
Oh wow, I gotta
then,
rewatch these. It's been a while.
The fuck it is like, what? It's like when they explained the Force in the sequels or the prequels to Star Wars, you know, the whole like the Force is this mysterious thing. It's like you don't go and explain it, that just destroys it. It takes all the mystery out of it, and now you're left with this kind of cold scientific description of what the Force is, you know.
Wow.
And, anyway, I'm just whinging, sorry.
No problem. Some other movie TV related updates that I wanted to share. Some of these will probably go quicker. Ezra Miller, who has been in the Beasts, Where to Find Them, the Harry Potter
right,
spin-off movies. So he was in
Train Your Harry Potter.
Yes. So he was in that. He's Flash in the DC movies.
Okay.
And apparently, I didn't realize this, but if you watch Invincible, which is on Amazon Prime, if you don't watch Invincible, you should watch Invincible. Just be prepared for all the violence, but it is so good.
Really?
Do you not see this?
No, I haven't.
Have you not seen this? Okay. It is.
Is it based on a comic book?
It feels like it is. If it isn't, it feels like it is. I don't know the answer to that. But let me go back. Have you seen The Boys? No.
I read the screenplay of The Boys.
Okay.
When I was working at a film production company called Daybreak Pictures, and they sent it to us, and we rejected it.
Oh boy, are you kicking yourself now?
Well, I didn't reject it. I read it. I thought it was great, but hilarious. So I mean, I don't know if it was the same Boys. Don't know if it's the same script, but it was a movie called The Boys. So I don't know.
So The Boys is kind of like heroes, anti-heroes, but it's very irreverent, very just gory. And so Invincible to me is like the animated version of that. It is superheroes and villains, but very irreverent, very kind of fourth wall breaking sometimes in that way, the way comic books are. And the first episode, I got my best friend. I remember I texted them, my D&D group. I said, if you haven't seen this first episode, you need to watch it. And you watch through the first episode. I'm not going to give any spoilers away other than you get the feeling like this is a cool show, comic book animation. And then like the last 10 minutes, they get you with something so earth shattering and gory and bloody and violent and they just smack you across the face. And they're like, fuck you. That's what this is. This show is about this. You thought you knew, but the show is about this. And so that's what Invincible is. It is so good. The guy, Glenn, who died from Walking Dead, that everybody hated his death. So he's the voice of the main character. Sandra Oh from Grey's Anatomy is the voice of a character. So Ezra Miller apparently was in season 1 as the voice of a character. I didn't realize this, but with all the Ezra Miller issues that have been going on the last few years, they silently recast him. They didn't really make an announcement, but I guess people noticed and they were like, oh, and Ezra Miller's still in trouble. So they recast him. And I just thought that was really for a show of this caliber. I mean, obviously it makes sense. I think they want to stay away from any of that trouble.
So what is it he got into? Something about getting arrested or something?
If I remember correctly, it was back in 2020 and he got like really violent with some female, like choked her, and it was caught on camera. And I think there's more than that. I mean, he has like bad behavior that keeps getting caught on camera.
But apparently talented, so that makes up for it, according to its society. Okay.
Invincible. I thought
the Vampire season 2 is coming out.
I have not caught the new show. Have you started it?
I watched the first season of it.
Okay. I loved the movie and I love the books. I just haven't come around to watching the show yet.
Oh my God, if you love the movie and the book so much, why don't you play Vampire the Masquerade?
Because I'm waiting for you to bring me into a game.
Okay, well, right. When are you free?
More updates. Let's see. So Pirates of the Caribbean, they are getting a reboot with the 6th movie. Apparently what this translates to is we don't want to wait or pay for any of the already established actors in this franchise. So we're just going to bring in new people. Yeah.
A lot cheaper than paying what's his face. Johnny
Oodles.
Johnny Depp. I mean, because these guys command like $20 million salaries. Why the hell would you hire Asylum again. I mean, at this point, the franchise has a name. Everyone knows what it is.
Yeah.
I don't need Johnny Depp anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we'll see what that does for the franchise. I don't know. I feel like they should just be done with it. Is that just me?
No, that's not just you.
This is going to be an old one. Do you remember the old Spider-Man, when I say old, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and the upside down Spider-Man kiss, the iconic kiss,
Kirsten Dunst, wasn't it?
Yes. Apparently, it just came out in a recent interview that kiss was completely miserable to film. I know this shouldn't be really big news, but I just find it interesting that I remember watching that scene and everyone I knew romanticized that moment until you realize when I read the story, I was like, yeah, duh. Why didn't I realize this would be totally miserable to do? If you're hanging upside down and you're wearing a mask and water and rain is pouring down on you, you're basically being waterboarded the entire time that you're filming, and you have to make it look sexy and hot. Like,
right.
Or at least Kirsten was upright. She could breathe.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting.
This wet spider sock hanging from the ceiling. She's got a kiss.
Yeah. Okay, now this one, I doubt you've seen. I haven't seen it yet, but you know that there's this new Winnie the Pooh movie that's out, and it's a horror movie. Have you seen the trailer for this?
What?
Yeah. So Winnie the Pooh became, what do you call it? Like public domain. A little while back, and someone said, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna make Winnie the Pooh scary as fuck. And that's what they did with this movie. I have been wanting, it's on my list of things to see, haven't watched it yet, but this headline caught my attention because the headline reads, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 3 will have a bigger budget and introduce rabbit. And I went, wait a minute, they made 3 of them? So actually,
we haven't even heard of them.
Well, I've heard of the first one. I just haven't seen it yet. But apparently it was good enough that they made a second one. And the second one was good enough that they're making a third one with a bigger budget. Each one, as far as I understand, has gotten a bigger budget. So in my eyes, I'm thinking they must be good. They must be good enough for someone to say, I like that. Let's throw even more money at it.
All right. Let's just put that in perspective. Okay. Sharknado.
Yeah.
But Sharknado. Okay. Ludicrous idea. The dumbest fucking possible idea anyone could possibly think of. And then they spent how much money, I don't know, on the first one.
Yeah.
Everyone thought, haha, Sharknado, hilarious. Basically, it's one gag that they drag out for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And yet people sit down and watch it. I watched it. It was all right. I mean, Sharknado, there's fucking hilarious bits of it, But people watch that shit. I mean, what? I
watched that shit.
Right.
I will tell you, this is like me and my husband's favorite pastime is watching horrible movies, bad films, and we just pick it apart and laugh all night. It's wonderful. But they're bad, good. We have definitions. We have bad, and we have bad, good.
And they're very different. They're very different things. I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, like Cannibal Holocaust, bad.
Yeah. Cocaine Bear, good, bad.
Probably quite good. Actually, did I see Bear? I got a feeling I did. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So Winnie the Pooh is a movie, and it's a horror movie, and they've made 3 of them.
Well, they've made 2, and they're making a third one with a bigger budget.
Right.
Yes. So
they're obviously gaining a following then.
Yes.
And it's sort of, I mean, we're talking about Highlander before. The first movie was actually really good. The second movie was ridiculously stupid.
Yeah.
The third movie, they were like, oh, let's try and make the first movie again. But we don't have Sean Connery now because he walked off because the second one was so bad.
Yeah.
They're just digging a hole. Let's make a TV series out of it. Oh, they did that. Make a couple more movies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I could keep going on with tons of movie updates and things like that, but I want to get to some other stuff here. So we talked last week about Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
There are a few updates that have happened since his interview, Sven Vink's interview. One of the things is he is trying to tell everyone not to blame Wizards of the Coast for Larian leaving Baldur's Gate 3 and D&D behind. Now, I don't know if this is just him trying to be like PR, not bad mouthing. I feel like everyone knows though, or maybe he thinks, maybe he's confident. Everyone knows.
Well, there's probably that, and probably the fact that Wizards of the Coast's lawyers probably paid him a visit and said, this is your contract, and these are the stipulations in your contract, and if you keep saying this shit, we're gonna fuck you.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, probably should say some nice nice things now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's probably how I would react. And we know that they've got the Pinkertons working for them. So
yeah, we reported on that, folks.
So it's plausible. It's not like it's not plausible.
This is true. This is very true. Good. See, this is why I like throwing things to you like that you have different insight. So the other thing that he mentioned in a separate interview is that he kind of put it out to everyone. I don't know if this is a warning to everyone, but he said that your characters, the Baldur's Gate 3 characters, they belong to Wizards of the Coast. They don't belong to him. And so I think he's trying to let everyone know, like, all these characters you love, there's one particular character, I can't think of his name, that everyone goes on as Asterion. I think that's what it is. But everyone goes on and on about these characters, and he's like, I don't own them. They don't belong to me anymore. I think he's letting everyone know whatever Wizards of the Coast or whoever decides to do with that,
not his fault.
not his fault is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, divorcing himself from. It's like movie directors that change that, they put the name Alan Smithy on the movie if they don't want to have their own name on there. Yeah. So I just that was just a quick little update there. I think he was kind of doing some cleanup after his interviews last week. Damage control.
Yeah. There are some updates from Wizards of the Coast.
Oh yeah. Tell me about those.
Magic the Gathering artist is accused of plagiarism. Now, I don't know if this is, they don't say if this is due to AI art involvement. Right. However, if you pull up the picture,
so we're talking about this red-headed individual.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So I believe this is from Cyberpunk 2077. This right here. And here's the card. Now, I don't know why the text is backward, other than that, I don't know, it's some kind of a copyright thing or something in this picture.
Right. They probably flipped the card so that it's facing the same direction as the original picture.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because it was mirrored in the picture.
Yeah. So I mean, come on. You can't say that this is not a copy, a direct copy.
No, it's the exact image, isn't it? I mean, the clothes, everything. It's the same object in their hand. It's a cut and paste job.
Yeah.
Even the stairs are there. In fact, you can see the stairs change texture underneath the foreground person's arm.
That is a wonderful observation. You are totally correct. So this can't even be AI then. This feels like direct copy.
Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know.
Why? I mean, dude, if you got a job working for Wizards of the Coast, would you do something so utterly irresponsible and stupid?
Yeah.
What could you possibly be thinking? This person must be on drugs. What the hell? Why would you do that? I am baffled and dumbfounded. Mind is blown.
Yeah.
Not even AI. If it was AI, you've made a mistake and oops.
Oopsies.
The AI fucked it up, but it wasn't your fault except for the fact that you used AI in the first place.
Yeah.
But this is deliberate and obvious and very clearly physical.
Yeah. So this came out on, of course, or at least the news story that I'm looking at came out today. The day that we're recording this, April 1st.
April 2nd, where I am.
This is true.
It's no longer April Fool's Day here.
So all I know for now is that Wizards of the Coast is aware of this. They're looking into it. We don't know.
The Pinkertons around.
Right.
Again.
We don't know what will be the result of this. If we find out by the next time we do Nerd News, we will let you know. But it's just, I'm going to take, for the last Nerd News, I actually created one of those, we were talking about it. We were laughing about it. 0 days since the last WoTC incident.
Really?
I created it and I put it up on the screen. And then I changed it and I put 1 day since WoTC scandal. Well, guess what? That's going to go back to 0 now.
Oh, that's brilliant. So we actually got that ticker. That's fantastic.
We sure did. Yeah.
Oh, we were going to milk that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's going to come up. We're going to keep track of this. Although, should it be 1 day? I guess it depends, because we do that show like semi-weekly, mostly weekly. We'll see how that evolves.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is really cool.
Okay.
If you like the classic D&D adventures, you can get a free D&D adventure based on a classic dungeon crawl on D&D Beyond. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to pronounce this. CAVERNS.
Let me look this up.
Are you looking it up?
Now.
Okay.
Yeah. I have read about this. I thought it was a book with a bunch of old D&D adventures, actually, but I could be wrong.
It could be. I'm reading through the news story. It just says a free D&D adventure.
Okay, so Descent into the Lost Caverns of TSOJCANTH. Okay, so obviously you have to be able to speak whatever that is.
Yeah,
and
troll.
I'm assuming it's based on a bit of cultural appropriation. But anyway, so Descent into the Caverns of bloody blah, TSOJCANTH. I'm going to call it TSOJCANTH. Is the J could be a soft J like in Spanish? So
see, and I'm reading it like Klingon.
Yeah. That's how I do my Orcan in my games. I'm like,
really? Exactly.
And I was like, what is it? Someone asked me if it was real language I was talking. No, I'm just making that shit up, buddy.
That's what you get for a paid DM. You get skills like that.
Right. So Descent, I can claim this. So this is on D&D Beyond. You can claim your own copy of it. I'm claiming it right now.
Yeah, I should as well when I get around and when I remember.
What it says is deep in the Yattl Mountains lie the lost caverns of formerly occupied by the legendary archmage Igwilv, the Witch Queen. Though Igwilv is long gone, and she was mentioned in Tasha's, wasn't she? Anyway, she's long gone. She is rumored to have amassed a magical hoard of unsurpassed value, a trove of such fame that scores of adventurers have perished in search of it. This adventure is part of a year-long celebration of Dungeons and Dragons and its 50th anniversary. The adventure presented herein is an abridged quick play version of the Lost Caverns of which appear in the quests from the Infinite Staircase. So that's the book that they're putting out, The Quest for the Infinite Staircase, and this is one abridged version of one of the adventures in that book.
Yeah.
So, right.
And my understanding is this adventure was first published in 1982, and it was run as a tournament module by Gary Gygax.
Yeah. Well, we know his son, don't we?
Yes, this is true. So I just thought that was really interesting. I'm definitely interested in downloading this and running it at some point, because that's something that, we've talked about kind of our D&D or our adventures through, tabletop, and mine is that I started with 3.5, and discussing with so many like older generation gamers, I would love the chance to really feel what that playing those editions are like. And now I'm guessing that this is probably updated for 5e, but at least maybe I'll get kind of a little feel of that, like the old dungeon crawl. Yeah. The classic dungeon crawl.
I have no idea. I haven't read this adventure. I don't know this adventure at all.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, though, if you kind of want that sense, Tales from the Yawning Portal. The Yawning Portal book has I think it's got 7 or 10 adventures in it that are all from old second edition and so on, going back to first edition.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like the very first one in there is the Sunless Citadel, which I've run 2 or 3 times now. And that's not a bad adventure, but it's very much a dungeon crawl, absolutely for first, second, third level characters.
Right.
So that's a good way to get into it too. I don't know about this new one.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll give it a try.
Give it a review, eh? We'll give it a review in a couple of weeks or something.
We can totally give it a review. So last little bit of D&D news. Okay, a couple of things. One is, I know we talked about all the things that are coming out for D&D's 50th, and I'm sure there's going to be more throughout the year as we progress, right? And we know that there's going to be a new player's handbook coming out. This artwork here, I saw this artwork. This is going to be, I believe, in the new player's handbook. Okay. And the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, this looks like Abria, who has been a guest on Critical Role. I thought, oh my gosh, this looks exactly like her. I wonder if that was intentional. And then sure enough, on her Twitter or her X or whatever you want to call it, she just has a little screenshot of here and she goes, look at that. And I went, oh, she's acknowledging it. So I don't know if that comment was like,
is she taking credit for it, or was it intentional? Did she know about it?
Or is she like, hey, they stole my image? I don't know what the context was. It was just, she acknowledged it as well. So at least I wasn't crazy going, is that her? Is that her? So I thought that was really interesting. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, one of the things that they're coming out with in May is Vecna related. And there's a bunch of news stories out right now, which kind of put a spin on it that I didn't think about, is that Stranger Things Stranger Things, I think, also help repopularize, is that a word? D&D.
Right.
I think for those people who weren't already into D&D, Stranger Things is what brought those folks in.
A good stepping stone, and that sent them to Critical Role, and then they
right. And of course, Vecna. No spoilers, but Vecna is involved, and so
the first series was the Mind Flayer, wasn't it?
I think so. It's something of that, caliber.
Really a flare, but...
Yeah, they didn't call it a mind flayer. So I just found it really interesting when we were going through all the stuff that they're putting out for the 50th anniversary that in May they're coming out with Vecna Eve of Ruin. And so I think they're really doubling down on Vecna this year because that's what the people came want. For Vecna, I think. So they're leaning into this, which is just, I don't know, it's just an interesting aspect. I mean, Vecna's great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Vecna. I just think it's an interesting take, and I've seen a lot of news stories this week talking about they're just doing it because of Stranger Things.
Right, and they're milking Vecna. Fair enough. I mean, if you got a cash cow, milk it.
Yeah, I mean, at least for a little while, I guess. Makes sense.
Yeah, I suspect they'll milk it till its teats fall off.
Probably. Does Vecna have teats?
Well, as Robert De Niro said, I've got nipples. Can you milk me?
Yeah.
Do you remember that scene?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
That was hilarious. Meet the Fockers, wasn't it?
That was a really good movie. Anyway, folks, I think we're going to end this here. So this is good night from me and good night from him. And next time we'll cover more WoTC D&D things.
We'll have our how many days WoTC's last.
Maybe we can replace that 0 with another one. We'll see.
Right.
All right, folks. Have a good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.